of May 14th. It's 3:30 and we'll start the meeting. We have everybody in attendance I guess, just because we're on Zoom, everybody can introduce themselves. We'll start with David.
David Wilson.
Samantha Bohan.
Jay McCray.
Jerry Lehman.
Matt Gilling. Matt Gilling.
Billy Saxton.
Chris McIntyre.
Darcy Kuchar.
Paul Plummer.
All right. Minutes. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes?
They were gorgeous.
Yep, as usual. I didn't think there would be any complaints.
Abby took
And anybody? Motion?
second.
All in favor? All right. Any public comment on non-agenda items? All right. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? All right, they're creaking. I have come up with a tentative mission statement that I'm more than willing to take feedback on kind of a permanent group that the select board seemed to be in agreement there that they would approve it as well. And this is what I have come up with, so if anybody has any comments or suggestions. And the idea would be, we're going on the assumption that the maps and stuff get accepted there on June 10th, and then after the following select board meeting, after the maps are approved, would be when we would kind of put this committee into inception. I think we're gonna I think start taking applications at the next select board meeting, kind of open up the application process then, so we have applications already waiting for that meeting following the June 10th vote, so then we can just kind of assign people to the committee. And that way, the only month that would really be missed would probably be the month of June. So July, we could kind of tackle some of the things that are outlined in the mission statement. Any suggestions, thoughts?
What day of the week are they going to meet?
Well, yeah, I assume kind of the same as this committee. What do you think, Paul? Part you too, bud.
Great.
All right. Next steps.
Should you read it into the?
Yeah, I can. Yep. I'll read it. The mission of the Fisheries Knowledge Committee will be to provide a comprehensive understanding of legacy fishing activities that occur in Harpswell waters that will help the town understand the impacts of projects proposed in both intertidal and subtidal waters. The committee will review the water classifications plan annually and make recommendations for any changes as needed. As a priority, the committee will assist the harbor master in review of all aquaculture and wharf proposals in Harpswell waters, public outreach and education, as well as partnering with other town communities to form events such as a local fisheries festival will be a strong focus. The committee shall make their knowledge available for planning board and administration when consulted for the review of ordinance changes that may have an impact on Harpswell waters. The committee shall be comprised of 7 members and 2 associate members representing the working waterfront industry. The 9 members shall consist of the following: shellfish harvester, lobsterman, pelagic fisherman, scalloper, aquaculturist, wharf or marine-related business owner, and harbor and waterfront committee member.
Should I say water classifications plan or map or?
Plan, because it incorporates the whole,
It doesn't.
the map and the definition.
And Billy kind of mentioned something beforehand, and he makes a good point. I don't think that committee necessarily has to review all the wharfs, and I think they could be more of a subcommittee to the Harbor and Waterfront Committee, and if Harbor and Waterfront looks at it and it seems like it's overlapping with a lot of areas with that map, and then they can consult that group at that point. So maybe we might be able to reword it a little bit around that, if others agree.
I mean, I think the Harbor and Waterfront Committee definitely has skin in the game on work
Yeah.
proposals for sure.
Anything else? New business, next steps? Did you want to talk about your lease, Sammy?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm applying for 2 new LPAs. I already have 2 LPAs, and I'm applying for 2 more to expand a little bit. I started off wicked small to see if I liked it and enjoyed it, and I did. Eventually, I'll then go into a lease, but we know how long those take, so that's why I'm applying for LPA first, and then I'll get into my lease. But if there's any concerns or anything about where I am, I've looked into it and I don't see anything, but if you guys have any problems or concerns with it, are you pulling it up?
Trying to.
Oh, okay, thanks. Both, yeah.
Yep, there you go, that's her.
Yep, right there. So then I will be putting 2 more in line with that. And instead of doing it so that it's like lengthwise and like hogging the whole cove, I'm going to not do that. So that way there is like a jet skier in there. Yes, it'll be like a box. So that way I'm not, blocking that cove off. So it's, user friendly to everybody that's right there as well. So I won't be taking up any more space that way.
I don't see any issues. You looked at the map, you said, right?
Yes,
Yeah, so,
everything's been, yeah.
This map's not even technically valid yet, so you went
Right,
above and
no,
beyond.
yes. Yeah, it doesn't mean I'm getting it. It's- I'm trying.
So, just so you guys know, I don't want to mess up, it seems like there's complicated stuff, so I don't want to project mine, but if we needed to, I have mine. Technically, the edge of the mapped Pogie territory does overlap her current LPAs, but if she hasn't been an issue so far, then basically the 2 new ones are 30 feet away from where she is right now, so just so you guys are aware.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jerry, did you had your meeting with the commissioner? Where's that?
Oh, yeah.
That's the whole reason we got it on Zoom.
Yeah. So I was asked to sit in a meeting with the commissioner, and of course, they all had high regards for what we did here in Harpswell. That seems to be well received there. The question is in the adoption of the town, adopting the maps, what was to hold them, the state more accountable to the town's, wishes on our mapping. How does that fit in and how does that weight? Well, the question was asked if somebody in town would develop a white paper on kind of the breakdown of what the committee has done here, would have a higher standings with them. And I believe he actually made a recommendation to, requesting Darcy if she would like to draft that white paper. And since I don't know if that's something we want to try to, since we're dissolving this after June, I guess it would be following up with the other committee, but I think it was just worth mentioning while, but that is a good first step. They all recognize, like we all talked about here at the working group, was this is nothing more than a template. Every town is going to be different based on the ecology and the environment. So, this is just a good first step, to addressing this into the other towns. The questions where other groups were asking for moratoriums, that was the whole rationale and reason why I believe that we formed this group. So it'll be a good first step in helping other towns to develop likewise, and a good first step to getting the state to recognize, towns and the local fishing community's best wishes.
Were you all right with writing that white paper, Darcy?
Yep, I'll put that together.
I have no idea about white papers. How long does it take to write one?
It's like just a slightly less complicated version of like a scientifically published paper. I've done a bunch, so
If you were to, what, I'm just trying to think.
it's basically just it's basically like a write-up of our process, the details of it, all the things that we did, like how we formed, and then the steps that we took to figure out what question were we going to pursue, and then how we went about collecting the data. They're mostly interested in, documenting how we did the process so that other towns could kind of adopt that to whatever works for them. Like, it's really the process that was the important thing, involving
Yeah.
the right stakeholders, making sure that, you know, we kind of listened to everybody's concerns and drove the work in that direction. I think we did a great job reaching out to as many fishermen as we could. I mean, I'm sure we didn't catch everybody, but I feel like we caught most people. So it gives some extra weight to the output that we made. You know, it's not like, oh, two guys sat down and came up with all the maps. It was a joint effort.
Would you end up with for a number of participants?
Well, there's some that are like, don't put my name down on that list. So, but in reality, it was about 31 people. And I don't know how many licensed fishermen we have in town, but that seems like a decent number. So,
But if we continue with
A little less
this,
than 10%. You added clamor, all the licenses.
It's like,
Every license. yeah.
Right,
Like you
yeah.
were just paying lobster.
honestly,
You're talking like.
what? So it was like 600?
Something like that,
Licenses
yeah,
now?
license,
Yeah, I
when
think
you
so.
add in all of
I
them.
think it's about 6.
How many shellfish licenses are there, do you know?
yeah, like keeping in
Yeah,
mind
close to it, yeah.
that those guys, you know, it would be like, you know, well, this guy and his brother or, you know, family fish in an area. So they might have just had the one guy kind of
Yeah, that's a good
document.
point.
It was a good.
Well, and I think there's more than that, because I talked to a bunch of people, got input, you know, in their.
Yeah.
Right.
I probably talked to 10 people that aren't on
Yeah.
that list.
And what I may do, actually, before we publish this, as we go through some iterations, it would be nice to get from each of you, like 31 names is what I have that I know for sure I either talked to or they came to the meetings or Sammy went and got, you know, names. But if you guys have other guys that aren't on that list, it would be nice to put them on there. We're not going to broadcast their names, but it would be nice to document the actual number of fishermen that got involved. So.
So June 10th, the maps are getting voted on, they're either gonna be yay or nay.
Yep,
Is this our last meeting with this group? Like, would we meet on June 11th? 'Cause
So-
that's,
Sorry, just to clarify, I
Yeah.
was going to do it earlier, but moved over.
yeah.
The vote is to vote on adding a class 5 waters. That's what people are voting on. Then the next select board meeting, we plan to have the new map and definitions in front of the select board to set a public hearing for hopefully 2 weeks. Then after that public hearing, they can take,
The select board would take a vote.
the select board will.
That's a change, right? That the
It is a-
select board
Yep.
can vote on the map,
Yep, and the
Right.
definitions.
and that'll be moving forward. Moving forward, the select board will be able to.
Yes,
vote on the
so we,
map.
we had it changed, we reviewed it with the town attorney that in previous times, it was the map was changed by town meeting, and
Right.
now the attorney has recommended, since it's a technically non-regulatory theory, it should be with the select board, not with the legislative vote.
Okay.
Also, it probably makes it's easier for us to make sure it's current and if we're
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
make
yeah,
any
easier,
changes.
it will
easier
get
to
it.
make changes and stuff.
Right, it will
I
be
just-
much easier to, like, if something changes mid-year to get it to
Just
change
do
than
it.
having to wait all the way to town meeting again.
Right.
So I guess if that vote is on June 10th, we would have a meeting on June 11th, the second Wednesday of the month.
Yeah.
That would be our last meeting, and we could go over the paper that she writes.
Well, that's kind of what I was wondering from Darcy, is if you might be able to, how long that paper takes you, if you'd have it.
I could.
Is that
I work
too
good
much?
with deadlines, so let's go for it.
I mean, if you want help, I'm sure people could help you too.
Yeah. Well, like it would be things like, you know, get me the total count on who we all talk to and everything.
Probably use the minutes to.
Yeah. And I may like email you guys a draft and be like, see what's missing, take a look at this. It's very straightforward. It's really just the process. So it's not going to be any opinions or any kind of, you know, subjective stuff like that. And it's, I did call Carl after we talked, just to be like, what exactly, you know, do you want? Because I wanted to make sure if I'm going to put the effort in that I'm capturing what they're looking for. And he said, it just seems like a really good system where both like pro aquaculture and anti aquaculture people are getting some value out of this to help the process. So that makes it valuable. And we would really like to see how you did that so that it's easier to kind of maybe use that as a tool in other places. So.
Yeah, I mean, just as a follow-up onto all that too, I mean, after this last week at the CCC meetings nationally, it's just, we already implement fisheries ecological knowledge in some of our fisheries management in certain parts of our country, specifically like down in the Caribbean. You know, each island is looked at like a separate FMP, where they use ecological knowledge to be applied in a management structure. And I think this follows along, you know, kind of in that kind of same guidance too, that could be used in future. Once due process with white paper and everything else, the due process steps to getting it recognized. So it would be benefit for the town for the long haul.
Paul, does the process of the select board, is that contingent on the fifth category being approved, or?
I mean, if there's no fifth category,
Yeah,
there's no
it'd have to-
maps.
the maps would have to be redesigned
Okay.
if there was.
I mean, there didn't seem to be any contention at the
Yeah, I
at
was
the
actually
hearing.
gonna ask if you wanted to speak on that.
Yeah,
Like, there
we were
was
there
only a
and-
couple clarifying questions at the public hearing. There was absolutely nobody that seemed to have any issue whatsoever.
Yeah,
with
I
the
think
cable
like
system.
people wanted to make sure, does that mean I can't put a boat in anywhere where there's
Yeah.
fishing? And we are like, no, that's not what it is. And I think someone else had a concern about, the planning board lady wanted to be included in
Yeah, that was.
people that we reach out to when we do stuff, so that was positive. And then someone had a concern about, why is it called legacy fishing? Why can't it just be commercial fishing or something? And, it's, I feel like legacy fishing kind of captures the heart and soul of Harpswell, so. Yeah, I know, I think it kind of makes it kind of dilutes it into stuff that's already existing someplace else. I think we're pretty unique and hopefully will be something worth copying.
But there's no pushback on the change of the wording of the ordinance or the actual maps themselves, everybody. And quite a few people did, I noticed, spend quite a bit of time over there looking at them and stuff.
Yep.
I'm sure everybody did the same thing. Where's my house and what's it look like outside of
Yeah.
it? So
So that's, I'm hoping it goes through. I'll go sit in at the town meeting, I guess, just to,
it's a referendum.
oh, okay.
So I mean, I guess it'd be kind of weird, but I don't even know if you. I guess you could sit there.
I could watch. Are they, are they gonna broadcast it? Is that gonna be, is it a live
There's
thing?
nothing
or-
to broadcast.
No, there's
Nothing.
nothing. It's
Oh,
a
it's
secret
a-
ballot. Like,
Oh, okay, I thought it was.
yeah, no, secret ballot.
Very-
So we'll know. We should know the results though by our meeting on the 11th.
The next day, is that
Yeah.
enough time?
So yeah, they're pretty quick at counting. I knew that I got elected that night. So I mean, and there's a lot more people voting for that than there is for this, I think, because the main draw for this is the school budget.
Yeah.
Well, and Mitchell Field admin building will suck.
And the
a lot of
fire
people,
station.
And the fire station. So. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't fair.
I don't know if you want to use verbiage in that where you're gonna say this is adjustments for pro and anti-aquaculture. 'Cause I feel that we've never been anti, it's the way they have the
Yeah.
program set up, we're just defending our existing
Yep.
fisheries.
Yeah, I'm not gonna use the phrasing in the write-up. That was like Carl's perspective, just to kind of explain like, hey, it's really nice to see something that like everybody thinks is generally a good idea instead of, something contentious that you get a lot of pitchforks and torches out for. We've done a good thing, basically.
We're trying to reduce the contentiousness. Anything else? New business?
No, I think the white paper will be really important. We've been talking about
Yeah.
why we did it, what we did,
That will kind of solidify our entire effort,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll just
Towns have asked.
You weren't working that far. Yeah, just come in.
I'm gonna word it.
Use your microphone, make sure
You're
she's.
gonna word it how you word it, but, I think it did, I mean, the reason the group started meeting was because of some tension, and the result is to reduce tension, I believe.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you want to word it, but.
And you, like I said, you guys will get a chance to kind of look at it as I'm tweaking it and getting it ready. I mean, I could write it to be a full-on, like, ready to go in a peer-reviewed journal. I think it was a nice piece of work, so we'll see how much work I get done now that the season has started, and I got a few other things on my plate, but definitely at least white paper level will be ready for.
When were you suggesting?
June 11th.
Yeah.
And she likes dead.
That's what she says.
I have ADHD, so I'll like do my best work on like June 9th. I'll be powering back down.
maybe at that meeting, we can do the final edit to it and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great idea.
You
To
can bring
have the
your
final,
computer
like, committee do the
approve it,
final stamp
'cause
of approval.
He's good at, saying things, and so we can kind of like,
Yeah.
On paper.
I mean, I think too,
no,
that
you did the
keeps,
definition, you came out with the definition, you just like did it.
yeah.
It was perfect.
I think that keeps with like the whole intention too of like this, we've done this as a group and, it'd be nice for everybody to agree and sign off on
I just want to make sure everyone gets input into
Yeah.
it.
How long we've been working on it?
We had a
Yeah.
slow start too. We
Yeah.
didn't definitely kind of,
Yeah.
like, what are we doing?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, we spun our wheels there for a couple months.
Do we want a map or we not want a map?
Public comment, did you guys have anything?
So like, I'll just say as a committee member, people are aware that like I'm on this group, so I've had people come to me and be like, hey, I'd kind of like to put an LPA in Harpswell. Where do you recommend? I'm like, well, there's very few places, and these guys had asked me that, and I thought about having them as part of our group, but Paul pointed out it's not technically our mission statement yet until we're a committee. So as a compromise, they were gonna come and when the next group meets, the Harbor and Waterfront Committee, if we wanted to, or I can stay if you guys don't all want to hang around. During the public comment for that group, I can mention like, hey, these guys are doing this, just so that you're aware. They wanted to get input from our people on where they were thinking about siting their farm and see if there was like any issues, concerns, suggestions. We just kind of wanted to take advantage of before they actually submit them and get into the process, get some input from us first. So they're kind of stuck in between because we're not
Right.
fully functional yet, but it would be nice to have the information exchange happen in whatever format works for that.
What's the best format for us to do that, Paul?
They
you
can
think-
certainly tease it out right now. I mean, just kind of.
Yeah, like, are we-
You want to do public comment and they can. just
Right,
stop.
that's kind of what I was
Yeah.
thinking, they could do public comment, we could discuss it via the public comment section here.
Yep.
That's fine. And then they don't have to hang around, because they don't have an
There you go.
application.
They
that
don't have
we're-
one
They're
in.
not one of the applications that we're reviewing on, alright, yeah, that might save you guys some time too.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear a spiel. We can give you this.
There you go.
And you can sit right there.
Do you want to bring up the map that you had for Sammy? Because they're going
Mhm.
to be close to where she's at.
I broke it.
There you go.
There we go, I got it.
Perfect.
It should work.
Yep.
Awesome. Do you want me to stand up there, or can I just sit next to
No, you
Gary?
can sit.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Welcome to Harpswell.
Yeah, thanks.
Is that, wait, hang on, let me double check. Is it okay if he sits or it is? All right, we're good. We got the thumb.
Great.
We're good.
All right, my name is Matt Nixon. This is my colleague Garrett. I own the hatchery down at Mitchell Field, which also doubles as a dog poop dump, and people use my porta potty all the time as well. So you're welcome. We are looking into getting a couple of LPAs, actually near you, I believe.
Okay.
And nothing huge. We're just looking for some places for storage mainly. We have the hatchery down here, obviously, and we have an overwinter storage facility that is almost done up in Bath. We'll be taking farmers' products over the winter and keeping them there so they don't get destroyed if we get another couple of Januaries like we did 2 years ago. So that's still in the works, but in the interim, we also need some grow-out space for some of our larger seed that we sell. So Garrett's been investigating LPA potential down in that neck of the woods, and wanna take it from there?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. So maybe it's easy if I just get up and point to it so you know where I'm talking about. We've drafted sort of applications to go in this spot. So, we're well outside the 1,000-foot sort of diameter around, sorry, is your name Tammy?
Samantha.
Samantha,
Yeah.
sorry.
Sammy, whatever.
Sammy,
No, it's
Sammy,
fine.
that's what it was. So we're well without,
Oh, is it a touchstone?
outside of sort of where your existing LPAs are go, or, the two additional that you want to put in. We talked with RC, and there's not really a ton of other activity out there, so it seemed like a good spot. But again, we just wanted to sort of get that out in front of people before submitting any sort of application.
Yeah, so for reference, they're outside of an edge of some Pogie territory. I told them it had to be outside of that, so they're just tucked on the other side of that. And there's nothing else in there. There's some moorings in there, but it would be kind of up to Paul to kind of make sure they're placed in a way that's not going to interfere with whoever's there.
Is there any way we could pull up our map?
Well, I was
See-
just gonna say, I don't want to ruin Paul's world here, because he's got some very
Not
complicated
my world,
stuff
it's the
going
admin's
on,
world.
right? I don't know what happens if he gives up the screen and I open mine. I'm
I
afraid
think
it'll.
it takes down Zoom. We had to leave it
Yeah.
up for the public.
I can, it's not like super public facing, but I can pull it up on my laptop and
I
pass
can
it
pull it
around.
up on mine too.
Well, you guys are doing that. I should also mention I worked for the state for way too long. And back in 2008, 2009, there was an effort up in Taunton Bay to do something very similar to this, except they had user groups, not just fisheries-based groups, but recreational kayakers, some of the sightseeing stuff, commercial fishermen. They made similar maps, and it was a pretty successful effort, which of course the DMR didn't fund at the time, so it just sort of fell on its face. The fact that you guys have been able to stand this up by yourselves, it brings back some bad memories from having to travel all the way to Franklin for 3 hours, but it was a really worthwhile effort, and you guys are doing a hell of a job. This is very admirable that this is coming back 20 years later, and you're doing it successfully without the need for aid from the state.
Yeah.
Just kudos.
I
I'm not
think
trying
we-
to kiss
Trying
anybody.
to get in like here, like outside the territory of pogeing, but
Say
not
again,
in the bay.
you talked about seed. Tell me more about the LPA.
Oh, sure. So we want to use them for some nursery capacity. So right now we can grow seed out to around 3 millimeters in the hatchery, which is typically what most farmers will buy. But a lot of farmers, especially we're noticing this year down in Massachusetts and to a certain extent up here as well, they want larger seed. We've actually had some people want market-sized seed, which is like, why would you do that? But I guess it makes it easier for them, I guess, because they just got to throw it in the water for a month and then they can sell it and call it theirs. So we want to use a couple of the LPAs for nursery capacity, and then eventually, I know my wife and my friends are always asking me for, okay, can we have some of your oysters? I'm like, well, if you want a handful of gravel, which is pretty much what a 2 million seed looks like, then yeah, it's all yours. But I would also like to be able to sell a little bit as well. And because of the restrictions around LPAs, it will be very limited resale, as you know. It's not super easy to do it, and it keeps getting harder every year. Yeah, so nursery capacity and eventually selling a very small portion of it.
Great, thank you. And can I, Garrett?
Garrett Bonney.
I'm taking the notes, that's why.
Okay.
Bond,
Bonney, Bonney.
thank you.
Taking the notes.
Seriously.
Kind
Thank you.
Split. Yeah, so you have a rough idea like where are you in like the little nub of where the 1925?
That'd be Sammy's.
I mean, as it's drafted right now, it's like right in here.
Oh, okay.
Just below this 12.
Yeah, where is this you, that one?
I think it's
Yeah.
outside the
Purple
fishing
or the
zone. It
yellow?
would just be Paul would have to-
Or
Why
are you
would
the
I be
purple?
yellow?
Yeah,
The mooring field's
you're the
pretty
purple,
close.
I think.
Is it?
I mean, without coordinates, I can't say
Now
for
I'm
sure, but
Yeah.
because I'm looking at those
I was
green
down there
dots
this
up
weekend.
there. Yeah.
I don't know what
this is what we have for, these are regular
Is
moorings.
LPAs, right? I mean, oyster.
No, not on this because it's a PDF. It's
Is
not
it purple or is it
GIF.
red?
Yeah, that's the point.
Never
Well,
seen
what's
it,
the
man.
red?
The red are wharfs, the red
Okay,
dots,
yes,
and
that
the
makes
green's
sense, yes.
moorings.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay, so yes, that
So
must be me.
That's you then, all right.
That just
So they're
looks
gonna
really-
be,
Probably a lot
they're gonna be,
more.
they're-
You don't have one over
You
here.
may not have seen
Not
them.
that
Over in Clark
Yeah.
Road.
No, I'm
Didn't
in
look like
Reed
that- didn't look like that
No,
anymore.
nothing happens in Clark Code.
there's a
That's
pile
an
of moorings
association,
there
that
if
little
they want
dock
it.
that comes out. That's the association
Yeah,
dock
if
for
you
all.
squeeze
Yeah,
in
which
between
surprises
there.
me.
Yeah, where
because
the 12,
there's
where the,
no
it says 12 feet,
boats
like
there.
that dock right there is
Yeah.
You know?
for a whole,
There's
you know,
a
homeowners
difference.
association.
I don't know what
There's a
the
couple,
ordinance are
like-
exactly. Do you have them? Yeah, you could be like here, like
Yeah, but you got-
outside the.
They don't even
line,
put their
you know, like
docks
not
in.
too, like,
Right.
for
Huge
distance,
housing
but-
But,
It
so,
got
yeah, I
bought
don't know
up,
what that
didn't
is.
it?
Right, yeah,
Huh?
it's for,
Some rich guy that owns it
So
now.
like from like this.
there-
Skipper Cove, or like, what is it?
Oh, I don't know who, there's a bunch of people that live along there.
This mooring, I mean, you're talking.
One of my aunt and
It's 300 feet from that
Blair,
point over to
Jay.
the edge of the
Yep.
property line.
Yeah,
They
Blair's
they
up
live
there.
up in like
Yeah, they're up
here.
here.
Not for distance.
Yeah,
but
on the main road.
No,
there.
no, they're right
No,
on the
they-
water.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right
Kind of
there.
where the cul-de-sac is.
Yeah.
It's case by case
Yeah,
based
So
on
they can
how
kind of,
everything's
like, if
shaped,
they walk
but
down to their waterfront, they can see me. But yeah, that's why this looks funny because
This, like,
technically
so my
it's
gut
showing they
feeling
can
tells
see
me-
but really they can't see me.
people over there are gonna have a
Come
big
down
concern,
more.
that mooring field.
There's the edge of
Like
the
it would
road,
need to
so
be-
it's gonna be right
That's a
there.
pretty
It's gonna be right
pretty,
where
like,
the
high-
green dots are,
high-end,
I would say, 'cause
private neighborhood.
Yeah.
the edge of the bogey
There.
territory was the blue square.
Yeah,
With the green
pretty
line.
much.
So how would you guys feel if they were just
I don't know,
a
I mean,
hair over the pogey
they
line
get
like Sammy's
squeezed in
stuff
the
is
water.
down here?
Right, yeah.
That makes me feel better,
Like,
but I
so
mean,
like that's
the fishermen
500
would be
feet then
different.
from
If
their
you-
mooring field.
And, you know, as it happens a lot of the time, like the instinct a lot of the times would be to like tuck up, right? Like into like those contours. But if any lobstering were to occur, it would probably be, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be out here.
Right.
It would be up along. Like where your cursor is right now. Yeah.
I know it's hard to.
So you guys
Right.
can see. Like more, like out away from shore just a little bit further there.
Darcy, can you drop a pin on this?
eventually-
This is the state.
Of that,
Could
Right.
probably.
just more.
Does that have a? This is so
like
horrible.
secure my. Like I don't need a big area.
Sorry.
I'm having a tiny fire. I don't want anything. I can't handle it myself anymore.
Can I drop a pin?
This is the
coordinates on
state
there?
one.
It's basically so that
Oh, I
I'm
don't think you
my
can. I
every
don't think
year
you
for
get
that
drop.
license.
New
Have
stuff
it
on there.
done. It's the only reason. Otherwise,
Makes sense.
it's yeah. Thank you.
And if you have the coordinates, you can mark it.
I could give you coordinates.
You have the coordinates?
Yeah, I mean that's
So like if
kind
they
of what I would
were-
do, but
Okay.
but I'm not bogey fishing.
Let's
either.
put the dot up there and then we can ask. Matt, do you know?
Josh Morse.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna say
what I was gonna say, Josh.
Okay, so maybe we can like
Talk with him.
talk with him real quick. But so we're not up there yet. But basically, what we're proposing maybe
What?
to not interfere too much with the mooring field, creep just a hair over the boundary of the pogey territory, kind of like Sammy's. But I don't, that's why we made the maps was to
What's there for shellfish? Anything?
There's not much. That's the end. You guys, your footprint's gonna be near.
Top culture? Yep.
You can just on B, and it'll just put a green pin.
All right, so got this little nub of depth and kind of right below it, like there. Did that work? Yeah. No, it's more. It's a little more over.
Use the mouse to
Okay.
tap
Wait, which side? There we go. Why is it still making that?
it. Is it where the dot is? Or is it where the,
No,
yeah, we're
right?
measurements, but it's just the quickest way to drop the
Yeah.
pin.
So like basically, it's kind of like right in here. Like if the pogey, we got to get these things up there. But basically, we have pogey territory mapped like just up to here-ish. So it kind of skirts right around this contour. Sammy's is kind of inside of it, and then it comes out of there. So, and then like you said, we
I don't
have
think
it
there's
mapped a little bit, but if you're likely to go more up inside,
I mean, Sammy would know more than me because you spend more time in the cove. Like, if there was any fishing there, it would probably be like in the shoal water, maybe a little bit around the end of that point or something.
Right,
but-
and then pogey fishing. I mean, my
Yeah.
husband is pogey fished near
Yeah,
me,
I'm
but
fine.
and then I've
Right.
talked to Josh, and I'm not in Josh's way, so I don't
Right.
really know. Yeah, otherwise, I don't know if
I mean, pogey
that-
fishing is, I mean, the
Right.
fish could be literally.
Yes,
the
no,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? The fish could be.
they go anywhere, and yes,
But,
they and then I don't know about like where Matt Clemens. I've seen him in our bay, but I don't know if he's up in there.
Oh,
don't know.
Hogan.
Yeah, I
I mean,
don't know.
The more preferential thing would be like Stovers and
Okay,
towards
yeah.
Josh's.
But otherwise, yes, mostly Josh, and then just the
Yeah.
little fishers, like I said, like Seth and.
So how
Yeah.
how many feet would that be from hers if you guys are in that spot?
yeah, I can do it real quick. Yeah, hang on, I can tell you in 1 second. She'd be It'd be like 1,200 feet.
Over
Yeah,
1,000.
Over 1,000. Yeah, it's not gonna
So you'd be
interfere with
closer than 1,000 of where they're going, where they proposed you to go, or?
No.
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 No, they're kind of going out some, a little bit, like if they went there.
And you're expanding more out, not longer? Or you're
Exactly,
proposing to?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going close, like as if you're heading towards
You can
Glidden,
broadcast
but
it.
only,
Cancel.
I think it's
Oh,
like
okay.
30 feet gap between.
Yeah, it's like
the two.
1,200 feet to her from where we would like to
1,200?
move them. Yeah, so they're still not gonna interfere with Sammy. I can broadcast?
Yeah.
Okay. Woo-hoo, all righty.
I was just thinking, like, if that cove is
You want
got
the
one
HDMI
on one
or you want-
end and one on the other, it might make the bogey fishing kind of tough.
Right,
You know, if
Hang
you're
on
Yeah.
here. Get
Assuming
fancy.
that-
yeah, you're not
kind of
wrong.
blocked in there.
Yep,
Yeah.
no, you're
These
okay.
massive schools just
All right.
Assuming that the
Yeah.
like bogey area thing wouldn't be an issue.
Yep.
I would think that the biggest concern would just be like walking off that kind of cove with that many moorings, many people using the cove, and then depending on how they're, 'cause, I mean, the way they'd be situated. Kind of across the mouth of that. And,
It would-
you know, and just outside of it.
it would make more sense to me to entertain a push.
Yeah. I mean, you could get outside of that bogey area there and just be pretty close to the moorings. I don't know.
Plug into HDMI.
Okay.
how
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah.
Oh, here we go. I'm good.
Need more computers.
I know. It's okay. Hey, we're doing all right here. Oh, there we go. This is me. Let me get this out of here.
Yeah.
All right. This out of the way. So here's a better view of what's going on. So this is Sammy's LPAs. The two little purple triangles are the new ones she's applying for. So as you can see, like, you got to remember scale too. Like, so the new ones she's applying for 30 feet away from each of the two that she already has. So, and then these guys we were looking at, here's all the mooring field that we were concerned with. Here's the pogie fishing area right here that we've mapped out. So to find a place where, like, this is a solid 1,200 feet away from Sammy. So kind of anywhere in this little area, as long as they're not interfering with these guys. And then for distance,
So the people that have moorings right there, are they leaving their mooring field to the south, or they go to the east?
yeah, do you know
So
the,
what-
do you
to the
know
west
the,
side?
Yeah, they're not going to the north.
I mean, these are
Yeah.
ledges.
Right, so I mean, wouldn't they like be running right over that? That
Yeah.
wouldn't make any sense to go right there.
I mean, it's not a, yeah,
Could
I
they
mean,
go
there's
here, like over
30
in front of
moorings
this
there.
ledge? You know what I mean? Like right here?
that's getting out more activity, you know. But,
You gotta think, there's 30 moorings there, and those guys are all leaving probably to the southwest.
yeah, it would make more sense to come back
Towards Sammy's?
Sammy's more, you know. Like
Is it too close
start-
between those two clusters?
What do you mean?
Right
Like,
there, right where
right
your
here?
cursor. Nope, come down.
Down here?
In
Let me,
there.
let me do the measurement, make sure.
Close.
If it's calling it here. Like, here's 1,000 feet, basically, right
Yeah.
here. So they could be
If you
here,
ran-
like in
if you
this.
ran-
That's right where they're coming out through. That's the middle of.
If you went, so go like along there,
This
just
is
where
nice.
the.
Here, you wanna drive?
Late at night, it's black.
Yeah.
So let's get us out to 1,000.
Kind of a
I mean, if you
crap area.
went, you know, and it was oriented in like that fashion, I mean, that wouldn't interfere.
Yeah, but they're right in the pogie fishing right there.
Yeah.
I'm out in the middle. I mean, there's
There,
a lot going on in that.
Well, it's worth asking, like, what, you
It'd
know.
be better if they're on the north side of the mooring field. But there's shoal water there, obviously.
There's a
I mean, if
east
you
there
went-
too.
I mean, maybe you could orient it. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not, I mean, there isn't, I mean, besides the pokey fishing, there isn't a lot going on in the middle of that cove.
Yeah, let's get the big.
But I don't know
picture
how
here.
how often that gets pokey fished either. I mean,
How close,
I
how far
don't
away
see it
are you gonna
often.
have your LPAs, man?
Yeah.
Bet you can make up 100 by block.
Well, let's say, so David, are you suggesting like they just made like one long skinny thing, or mean a box? Like, what are you thinking
Well,
would be?
if he's gonna have them, I don't know how far away they're gonna be from one another.
If you have four,
You're
if you
not
have
gonna
one string, like that's what my original 4 LPAs were, was just
That's
one
what
bag
mine
width,
is.
and then like 4 LPAs worth of stuff. Yeah, so it was like, I don't remember what it was, 800 feet long by 2 feet wide was what I had, but you could make them in any configuration you want. If you would rather keep it condensed as a box or have it be,
Well, I mean, I think the mooring field, probably gonna want do a button one. At 100 feet. Way out.
From my standpoint, I don't love how close we are to them. You have to account for all types of different boaters, right? Assume that
they'll figure it out after they run them over a couple times. but-
yeah, I know, and it's just my instinct tells me that's just not great location, especially if you guys aren't dead set on it. You know,
Yeah. I agree with Paul.
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah, I'd find some warmer waters.
their other, they did have another site that
No,
they
it's
were
not warm.
looking at, which was,
Was last year, but that's about it.
where was it, you guys? Was it Birch or, it was White's Island? So this was the other area they were looking at, which is kind of already full of stuff, but, yeah. Yeah.
Isn't there one that's in the application process? Like, right-
Yeah, let me actually
For a
open
little
the other
Little
project.
Iron?
yeah.
Hang on, I'll do the, hang on. Let me open that project. I have that one too.
Huh?
It's nobody I heard of.
No.
We are the only domestically.
I have to buy it? Coming that close to me and I have to buy it? No.
Neighborhood discounts? All right, yeah, so for reference, let me shut off the big, these are all the water classifications. These are the 2 LPAs that Paul sent us that are on the table to be reviewed right now. So I don't know how that, shut off the, view, there's too much going on here, it's freaking me out here. Shut off. All right, so without Harpswell Waters being on. So I don't know how this factors in with you guys. Do you remember where you were in relation to these guys?
Getting inundated.
I think, I mean, we're kind of open to wherever we can fit, but
There's another new
what I
one
was
here,
thinking
and
was
then
rating.
over here.
Well, sort of like from the 5 southwest is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just outside of it.
Just a,
Yeah.
just shoaler than
Right.
the bogey.
Which would be, you'd still end up going before the Marine Resource Committee because it's extreme low water. So, David, do you have any thoughts on that spot in particular?
No.
Okay. Yep. So then there you go. Maybe that's the direction to go.
Yeah, the only thing that I talked to Paul about those other 2 applications there. Just that, like, that whole edge used to be just all eelgrass.
Yeah.
I don't know whether, like, maybe there isn't eelgrass there.
Check the DMR,
Yeah.
what they've got going
Paul and
on.
I were talking about it
That
the other day
DMR
there,
map's
about how
not
it's just,
I think that's a prime
What,
example
like-
too of where carrying capacity comes into play too, with how much is going on in that one area.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the eelgrass all cycles and stuff, but you just map it out
You're talking
right
about
now.
the other LPAs there, what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I already have seagrass
there's plenty of-
and eelgrass. So turn that on for,
I don't know if they say that. But anymore, yeah. Okay, so they show it up in solar.
it's 2010, which is the most recent that's available.
For eelgrass?
Well, 2020, the
2022 one?
2022 it includes seagrass, which is not the same as just eelgrass, so I don't.
Oh.
But also that's on here too, that's projected, so I have that layer turned on. Yep, I've got seagrass 2022 and eelgrass 2010 is all highlighted here, so.
Anyway, I don't get, it just used to be.
Yep.
Right, which it's just hard because it's like, okay, like when you're citing something, all you can do is say, oh, there's nothing here right now. But,
Yeah, oh, hang
you
on.
know,
Oh, here we go. Oh,
Like,
it just took
kinda-
a while to filter in. Here's seagrass.
yeah, I guess like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Seagrass is the lighter
I think the
green?
lighter green, yeah, which I don't know what that includes, if that's they just
Yeah.
decided to call eelgrass seagrass, or if it includes other varieties, so.
Yeah, I guess it just,
What's
like
seagrass?
traditionally,
Eelgrass.
it would have existed, pretty much where it shows it, but
Yeah.
maybe just like further, deeper than what it shows it now, on both shores, up above. But
Also
anyway,
dark
it
green.
shouldn't be,
Yep,
I would think you could. I mean, guys used to fish those edges hard in the spring, but as far as I know, it just doesn't.
What about south of my LPAs off Barton's? There's tea room there. I don't know how much boogieing goes on just south of Jordan Point. A
Mark,
couple more and
Gordon.
right there.
Yeah, so these are moorings, and then, is this you, David, down here?
No, I'm up north of
Okay.
Jordan.
Oh, right here?
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's another, you guys aren't overwintering there, are you? Or yeah, so then the depth doesn't really make a big difference for, yep.
Consider what you want it for. You've got warmer water up there. So you got 3.
Yeah, and for distance, let's see how far you need to be from,
Lookup point?
Henry Allen's is, but I'm friends with like there's a lot just north of Jordan Point. I can access. Probably wouldn't care if you had a punt boat down there, but
Not as close as we're.
you definitely got to pick and choose. See plenty of wayback.
yeah, so just for distance that you're looking at, like this is David's little LPA, so you need to be, somewhere in this.
What about just
radius.
south of those, right there, yeah.
Yeah, yep, as
Right
long as
there.
they're like just south of like the nub of Jordan Point is, unless, then you're approaching the mooring field, but I'm assuming those guys are going out and down instead of north. I don't know where they'd be going if they were going, I don't know. Paul, do you have any input on that? Like these guys down here? Let me get out of that. Are these just private moorings? Is this like a community thing down here? Like if they were to plop something in right here, is that gonna be in their way?
That's a new development there, right?
Oh, is that the?
Peabody
Is that
Road.
off the Peabody Road?
I'm guessing that's where the Peabody Road,
That's that new,
yeah.
that new Peabody Road.
Is there a red dot right there? by the
There's a
top?
little dock right here,
If you
and
click
there's a
on that-
dock right here on the end of the
If you
point.
click on the red dot, does it tell you what it is?
I don't think I have the metadata for these layers. I just got, yeah. I tried to look at that and it didn't come all the way through when the person that made these layers sent them. It just projects the point, but I don't have any of the information.
Or even further, down down the shore.
Yeah.
Association dock right there.
The one right on the point,
Well,
or down.
just over, just down, yeah.
That seems about in there.
What about back down the shore further, like just outside of that 4 feet?
Like
You know
here,
what I mean? Like on that, yeah, like just outside the.
like there's just one mooring or a couple sparse ones. What is even there? Who's getting out to that? I guess. Let's find out. Have some faith. Some people in Harpswell are okay with aquaculture, but
What is there left for LPAs in Wilson?
There's
all right.
Not much.
So, call this the shoreline. You need to be, oh. Yeah, you need to be like, you could be just outside the, like almost on the Pogie border, basically. Let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah, you could still be
Boom.
right on the line and still 300 feet off of low tide, which is what DMR is going to call the
pretty much
riparian
just
only.
follow that contour
Yep.
line
Yep.
on the chart
Yep.
outside.
That's a lot.
I guess one long, what is it? It would be 200 feet if you just went.
It could be whatever configuration. It could be one long skinny one that runs along the.
Well, right, I know,
contour,
but
or-
like, what were you applying for
I think
2 LPAs? 4
Yeah.
4
I
LPAs.
think given this
Process.
spot,
It's a slow process.
this line might be best.
Right.
Due process. Slow process.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or two pushed up ones to
Yeah.
save on the distance, because you don't want to encroach on these LPAs down here either, so. Yep, so that would be,
Basically right on that.
Yeah.
yep, just off of this little weird nub of extreme low water here. Okay, yeah, hang on. Hang on here. Let's do-
The
Yeah, hang on, let me zoom in better, so we
A lot
can,
easier doing this than coming up with a big plan.
yeah.
Change it.
Yeah, if you find that chart 13290, just put
This is
it,
the way to do it too.
Just
Like,
outside
have them
the
come in,
door.
right, and then it goes smoothly for them.
which
Yeah, that's way
David
better
will
than-
still
way
review,
better.
it's still gonna go to your committee, right, because it's less than 5 feet of water, so. But unless you're seeing anything
No,
worrisome, it should,
But they could probably get into
I don't,
more than
again,
4 feet
like,
of, more than 5 feet of water there too.
yeah,
We should
The,
send the
Wilson's
recording
Cove
meeting
south
to
of that.
DMR as a prime example of why this works.
yeah. hang on.
what is there for LPAs in
Wilson's
Everything should be out of there except for the.
What is
lease.
this? Whose big lease is
It's
that?
David's, right?
Is that
Yes.
you? Is it on the bottom?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's nothing else in there, just David's lease, which is
Oh, the-
tucked right in
There
there.
isn't one off the end of that.
Nope.
What was that? When did that leave?
I don't know, yeah,
Well,
but
there was
I
that big one off the
updated
like by
this,
the red nun.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
running tides.
Yeah. so
Okay,
that's
so
gone.
that's all gone.
Yeah.
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 So are you saying, David, like they could be down in this area, or?
that's what I wasn't sure what there was LPAs left there.
Nope, there's not, but how about, is this too close for lobstering? What are you feeling about, like, this little blank space right here? Shoreward of the
It
buoy,
didn't get filled in.
right?
What is that sound? It must be that microphone.
But,
In public comment, though, we need.
no, I don't know. I mean, they're just, it's tough because, I mean, you know, like the head of that bay used to get, like, my grandpa
There was nobody on.
lived there.
Hi, Christine.
It doesn't get fished anymore, really. Leave that up there.
Yeah, everybody said it's down here.
That's why we made the protocols for the last 10 years.
Who? Oh, you talked to Johnny.
I've been getting a lot of that from like the
Yeah,
old timers. Like, what about legacy
Oh, yeah, I think
fishing?
that's.
Why is this?
yeah.
Oh, so you can ship.
I think so.
Yeah, I just explained to someone, we haven't gone back in 20 years, so. You're due to retire. Yeah.
All right, so I think we've come to, like, guys, potentially another little footprint to look at is kind of in here.
Yeah, I mean, up in, you know, close to the island there.
This is
Would
rockweed
be-
harvesting, this brown stuff, in case that wasn't obvious, so that's,
You know, obviously up in closer to the island there gets you away from out of the middle of the bay more, but also, I guess at this point, guys are somewhat tough, like around where.
Yep.
50 there.
And I don't think there's not a density issue because that's a full lease, so you don't have, the 1,000 feet thing doesn't matter, although you don't want to be right up on David's
I don't care.
world, but, so there's a little bit less restriction on how close you get to his site as long as you guys aren't interfering with his use of it or his access.
I mean, the current dies down once you get east of that. So there, like, between.
Yep,
I'd-
like in this little sliver.
I'd run 2 pair of lines, lines side by side, or run it, because we're always leaving from Henry Allen's, and we're always just heading northeast up the bay. Have to worry about it, as far as navigation. Only rebuttal I would see is Mrs. Norton's daughter. I got.
Yeah, if you'd want to keep it 300 feet away from the shore. So let's look at that.
Yeah, if you were close to the point there.
Oh, which
but-
is, yeah, David's
I
is
mean-
already, like, he's already 600 feet off at his edge there from that. And then from, got from this, like from this point, same thing, like you'd be like right on top of his lease to get even close to 300 feet from shore. So as long as you're not there, you're not near any riparian stuff and out of David's way and not
Only
in the,
like
yep, and you're not in the lobster territory. This is exactly what I was hoping this group would be able to do. So I'm really happy that we had time to do this.
They're very concerned about jet fuel in my intake pumps, and they're excavating down there. Awesome.
Yep.
Two potential spots, and I guess the next steps, he wants to bring this back.
I think it will come back on it anyway, the way it goes through the process anyway, but I think this will make your process
Streamline it.
much smoother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this was the whole idea of doing this,
Yeah.
you know, was streamline it for you guys too, instead of you having to apply for that first spot, you know, and then you come in and find out, oh, this doesn't work, and then you gotta go through that application process again. So, I mean, this is, maybe we could, like I said to Billy quietly, maybe we could send this video to DMR about why this works.
You're not going to want to send it to me on the video. I think you should. I wouldn't go over well with DMR stuff.
No, I know, that was what she said.
Copy the link, put it on the white paper.
I mean, it even, you know, it's as simple as just
great
like you say, like going down there and not realizing that there's that many moorings in that cove because they're overwintered, you know, so it's like,
So they could bring it back here before the formal application. Or they could go from here to the application, but
Yeah,
to add to the stream, it could come back again before you
I
apply.
feel like,
Yeah, I think we end up catching LPAs in Harpswell on the Harbor Master Review step, which is technically still before it's formally submitted to DMR. So if you want to skip to that part, that works. Or if you want to fine tune it a little bit after we're a formal committee, I think this is exactly one of the things we were assigned to do. So I don't know what your timeline looks like if you want to.
Moving fast as we
Like, I think if you started
can.
the,
Step review, I want it to be
Yeah.
thorough and
Yep.
everybody's happy, so that's fine.
for timelining it, if you wanted to get your application started and into the queue, by the time it's ready to go to Paul's desk, I assume we would be a committee by then, so we could catch it at that point.
I don't know how long
I don't
that
either, I don't
process
know.
takes, so.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any idea, like, once, like,
For LPAs?
Yeah.
I mean, it's shorter than 5 years.
I think it's like up to a year now, isn't it?
no, but how long do you think before it would come to the Harbor Master Review if they started the application? Like, how far out are they from that point?
December.
Yeah, so you might as well
Yeah.
start
Yeah,
and get
so
it
we'll,
going.
because we should be on that new committee by July, I would say. So,
You guys are doing LPAs, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, well, so they could have an LPA drafted up in a week.
In theory, yeah.
yeah.
Right.
But then, like, when do you get it from that step? You know what I mean?
As soon
Like-
as they get all the signatures they need and.
Then it
get
goes immediately to you,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's like, as soon as they have everything they need.
And you could choose to hang on to it until we're actually a committee, or are you not allowed to jam up the process?
We have talked to DMR staff, and as long as we are,
We have a plan.
well, so like right now, everything goes to Harbor and Waterfront. So if Harbor and Waterfront is the authority that we use,
Yeah.
they wouldn't say bypass them and wait 2 months for this committee. That would be unacceptable.
We, could I think Harbor and,
We could advise
half of
Harbor
us
and
are
Waterfront.
on Harbor and Waterfront. Yeah, you have half of the Harbor and Waterfront committee, or 3 of them are
Yeah.
sitting right here. Yeah, we can pass this information along to them here in half an hour very easily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're sticking around for the first part of that too.
yeah.
I should also add that if any of you folks are interested in taking a look at what we're doing, not just floating tennis balls in fish tanks, stuff will go on down there, so by all means, always staff down there. Operations. Give a check to the town, so they can definitely get.
Yeah, that would actually, when we have that new committee, that would.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
that
let's
would
do
be-
a
If you
field
were okay
trip.
with that, I mean.
Totally.
Oh, I'd love it.
I think there'd be like 10 of us.
So if you, I mean, I think you know.
Whoa.
If it's a committee, it has to be open to the public.
Yep.
So as long as,
I took a class of 30 second graders.
yeah.
Said to split them up.
Might have to do the same with us.
See who behaves better.
Maybe we'll pick up another customer too.
For free.
Anything else? I think 4:34, motion to adjourn. Adjourn.